Hello and welcome to Gefet in the Daf. I'm Yael Shimoni, bringing to you, together with Hadran and Yeshivat Risha, learning a little bit more in depth in your Daf Yomi. And we're starting a new Gefet for a new Masechta, Masechet Nedarim. And Masechet Nedarim has special people following it, not the usual Rashi and Tosfot, but different people. We'll talk about them at first. We will learn a very big Chiddush that the Ran has in the Sugya discussing Talmud Torah and understanding a little bit more the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. So let's begin by looking at the Ran and the Mefarish, which are the two commentaries that are around the Daf, not the usual Rashi and Tosfot. So if you look at the Daf and Nedarim, you see that there is a Rashi, but we'll talk about that Rashi. Rashi isn't really Rashi. And where you usually find a Tosfot, you have the Ran. So who's the Ran? The Tosfot is way smaller around the daf. Why is the Ran here? Why is he taking Tosfot's usual place? Why did the Almanah v'Ha'achim Ram decide to put the Ran from all of the Rishonim on the daf? So the Ran, he's a very, very famous Rishon. One of the later Rishonim, Rabbi Nisim Rabbi Reuven Girondi. Sometimes you call him Ranbar. And he's from the Rishonim Asfard. He's from the list of the Rishonim, from Ramban, and then Rashbar Britva, and the Ran sums up a lot of all the Torahs from the Ramban further down, and also refers to the Rambam. And he's very central. We'll see that he wrote a lot of different commentaries on Shas and also other areas. The Ran was not only a great posek and a very big parshan of Talmud, he was also a philosopher and a scientist. And he even wrote his own Sefer Torah, and the Sefer Torah exists in the Sifriya Lumit in Jerusalem, which is very, very interesting. So we have a very special Rishon here. You should learn more about him and read more about him on Google. What did the Ran write? So firstly, and the most importantly, the reason the Ran is so famous is because he wrote commentaries about the Rif. And if you will learn Gemara B'Iyun, you will be learning also Rif, and you will see that at least in 15 Masechtot, the Ran is the main commentator on the Rif, and that's what made him so central and famous. The Ran also has a book of Chidushim, which are separate and not printed on the Gemara, Chidushim on the Shas, and you have him on many Masechtot. There's also another book called Drashot Ran, which has different drashot that the Ran wrote on different issues, also just to do with philosophy and to do with politics and to do with law and regarding Jewish law. Very, very famous and interesting texts. He also has a very small Perush on the Torah. It is assumed that he did not finish commentating on this Torah. And here on the Nedarim, he was printed instead of Tosot because his Perush on the Nedarim is very, very central and really giving a lot of information and a very deep insight and a lot of different questions regarding the Sugyot here in the Nedarim. So that's why when we're going to be doing Gefet on the Nedarim, we'll be referring many times to the Ran and not to the Tosot. So this is the Ran. Who's Rashi in Nedarim? So Rashi in Nedarim, and here I have a bit from the portal of the Daf Yomi that has a very nice explanation, a sum up, is not really Rashi. You can tell from reading a lot of Rashi, this has a different flavor to it. So this is not Rashi, but all kinds of Perushim of Ashkenazim that were put together, they seem to be late Rishonim, and therefore what is written in Rashi here does not have the same status as Rashi, who's real Rashi, and other Masechtot. So when we're going to be doing Gefet, we'll be using Rashi, we'll be calling him the Mefarish, and the Ran, which is very central, as we said before. So now let's continue to learning our Sugya. We're in Daf Chet Amud Aleph, and we have two Meimrot from Rav Gidal in the name of Rav. The first Meimra says, how do you know? How do you know that you can make a Shavua to be Mekayim a mitzvah? Shene'emar nishbati v'kayema lishmor mishpatei tzidkecha. Asks the Gemara, how could Rav say that you can be mushba on doing mitzvahs? There is a shvua from Har Sinai. You cannot put a shvua on top of a shvua. Says the Gemara, when Rav said that you can be nishba, that you can swear to do mitzvot. He didn't mean that the shvua is actually chal, and if you won't be doing the mitzvah, you'll be chayav malkut. No, he means that you can give yourself an incentive to be quicker in doing your mitzvot. It's not really a shvua. Another statement of Rav Gidel in the name of Rav, Amar Rav Gidel Amar Rav, האומר השכים בשני פרק זה, שני מסכת הזו, נדר גדול נדר לאלוהי ישראל. Again, Rav is talking about a mitzvah Talmud Torah, and even though I have a mitzvah to be learning Torah, still the Rav says that if a man wakes up in the morning and says, today I will learn Masechta Nedarim, I will start doing Daf Yomi and continue Daf Yomi, he did a great neder to God. So how could this be? Neder it's not. So how, if it's a shvua, how can it work on a shvua? Mushba v'omed behar Sinai, ve'en shvua chala al shvua. Let's just read the Mefarish here because he helps us understand what the Gemara is saying. The Mefarish says, how do we know that for Talmud Torah we're mushba'im v'omdim behar Sinai? We have two psukim. One pasuk, v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam. We know from Kriyat Shema that a man should learn Torah yomam v'layla. Another pasuk in Yoshua, lo yamush sefer haTorah ze mipicha ve'agita bo yomam v'layla. So here we see that you're mushba v'omed behar Sinai. So how can Rav say that you can say a shvua on Talmud Torah? Says the Gemara, well, maybe we'll use the same solution we just did before. We'll say it's only to be mezares you. But the Gemara says, this can't be. We already used this terut for one memra. We can't use it for all of Rav's memrot. So says the Gemara, Hakamash malan kevan de'ibai patar nafshe bekriyat shema shacharit v'arvit mishum hachichal shvua alei. What's this? The Mefarish tells us, go learn Menachot Daf Tzadik Bet, Tzadik Tet Amud Bet, and then you'll understand this Gemara. So let's go to Menachot. Menachot, we have a Mishnah talking about Lechem HaTamid. Lechem HaTamid, you have to have all the time bread in front of God. The Gemara brings a braita of Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says, Tamid doesn't mean always. Tamid says even if you just have it during the night and during the day, but if you take away the bread in the day and only put new bread in the evening, that's still תמיד. אפילו סילק את הישנה שחרית וסידר את החדשה ערבית, אין בכך כלום. אלא מה אני מקיים לפניי תמיד, שלא ילין שולחן בלא לחם. Says Rabbi Ami, if the word תמיד means during the night and in the early morning, we can also learn what it means, להגיד בו יומם ולילה, לא ימוש ספר התורה הזה מפיך. It's also תמיד. בדבריו של רבי יוסי נלמוד, אפילו לא שנה אדם אלא פרק אחד שחרית, פרק אחד ערבית, כי יהיה מצוות לא ימוש ספר התורה הזה מפיך. It's enough to learn Gemara, enough to learn Torah in the night and in the morning, and that will be והגית בו יומם ולילה. Says Rabbi Yochanan, that's true. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, not only can you learn only at night and in the morning, you can also be יוצא if you're just saying קריאת שמע שחרית וערבית. אפילו לא קרא אדם אלא קריאת שמע שחרית וערבית, כי יהיה לא ימוש. Continues Rabbi Yochanan and says, ודבר זה אסור לומרו לפני עם הארץ. You won't want to tell this to עם הארץ because then they will not learn Torah. Rava says, mitzvah לא אומרו בפני עם הארץ. It's a mitzvah because עם הארץ should know that they're still being yotze from Talmud Torah, at least say Kriyat Shema Shacharit V'Arvit. Okay, so this is a very interesting sugya in Menachot. That's what Hashem will have strength and get to learn Menachot and get back to this sugya. But here, let's go back to our sugya in Nedarim. Now we can understand what the Gemara is saying. Why is a shvua, to learn a Masechta, or to learn Daf Yomi, or to learn anything, work? Because the mitzvah of Talmud Torah is actually very minimal. It's only, if you do Shacharit and Arvit, Kriyat Shema, you're being Yotze. So if you're adding any more part of Torah, still the shvua has a place to be chal, because you're not mushba v'omed har Sinai in the entire Torah. You're only mushba v'omed har Sinai on Shacharit v'Arvit of Kriyat Shema, and that's what the Mefarish says here. So the Mefarish understands that mitzvah Talmud Torah is actually very, very minimal, and you can be yotze if you're doing Kriyat Shema Shacharit v'Arvit, and that is why the shvua is chal if you're doing a shvua on another Masechta or another bit of Torah, because you're not really mushba v'omed har Sinai on the Torah that you're learning beyond Kriyat Shema Shacharit v'Arvit. The Ran cannot accept this. Let's see what the Ran thinks. It says the Ran here, Mistabra li de lav dafka behachim miftar. The Ran says, I don't think a man can really be miftar in קריאת שמע שחרית וערבית. Why? שהרי חייב כל אדם ללמוד תמיד יומם ולילה כפי כוחו, ואמרינן בפרק כמה דקידושין, תנו רבנן ושיננתם, שיהיו דברי תורה מחודדים בפיך, שאם ישאלך אדם דבר שלא תגמגם ותאמר לו וכולי, בקריאת שמע שחרית וערבית לא סגי להכי. Says the Ran, we learn that you have to do Veshinantam. What's Veshinantam say? The Chachamim Veshinantam is to know to answer questions on what you've learned. So to answer questions on what you've learned, it's not enough to learn Kriyat Shema Shachrit V'Avit. You have to do much more. You have to learn Torah Lefi Kocho. So how should the Ran read the Sugya? So here we have a very big Chiddush. אלא מכאן נראה לי ראיה למה שכתבתי בפרק שבועות 2 בתרא, וכל מידי דעת המדרשה, ואף על פי שהוא מן התורה, כיוון דלייתא מפורש בקרא בהדיא, חלה, בקרא בהדיא, שבועה חלה עליו. Says the Ran, learning Torah יומם ולילה is מדאורייתא. But there is a difference between learning Torah Yomam V'Layla and learning Torah Kriyat Shema Shachrit V'Avit. What's the difference? Kriyat Shema Shachrit V'Avit is actually written clearly in the Torah. It's meforash b'Torah. B'shochvecha u'vekumecha. Chachamim told us that you have to do Veshinantam. They explained to us that you have to learn Yomam V'Layla, but that's not written clearly in the Torah. That's a commentary of Chazal that tell us that this is actually the rule of the Torah. And we know there are many mitzvot in the Torah that are midiraita, but we know them only because Chazal explained to us that's how you should read the Torah. So the Ran says, what we know is that mitzvot that you learn from Chachamim can be sometimes deraita, and they're not less in their power or in their status than mitzvot deraita, which are clearly written in the Torah text. But there's one place there will be a difference. Are you mushba v'omed mehar Sinai? You're only mushba v'omed mehar Sinai on things that are clearly written in the Torah. And that is why in this sugya, the shvuah is not chal if you want to say that you want to learn another masechta. But it is still part of mitzvah Talmud Torah mideraita to learn this masechta. So this is a big chiddush of the Ran, which is very interesting because many times students may ask, what's the difference between what's mefarish in the Torah and what's not mefarish in the Torah if they're both in the Deraita? So the Ran has this original chiddush, and this is his way of understanding the sugya. So let's sum up what we saw. The sugya seems to state that mitzvah Talmud Torah from the Deraita is very minimal, and that's how the mefarish understands it, based on Menachot Tzadik Tedamud Bet, and the Mefarish really says you're Yotze Yedei Chovat Talmud Torah b'Kriyat Shema, and that is why when you are nishba to learn more, it's chal. But the Ran says no. Mitzvah Talmud Torah midaraita is to learn the Torah kol echad kefi kocho, because you have to answer and have divrei Torah mechudadim beficha. But that is something that Chazal were dorshing to explain to us the mitzvah deraita. But in the Torah itself, it is written clearly Yomam V'Layla v'shochvecha u'vekumecha, and that is why only what's written clearly is considered mushba v'omed mehar Sinai, and that is the difference between a mitzvah that is written specifically in the Torah clearly to a mitzvah that is not being written specifically in the Torah. They're both midaraita, but only the one that's written clearly is mushba v'omed mehar Sinai. So today we learned this famous and really intriguing Ran discussing Talmud Torah, and actually I feel very close to the Ran that it's hard to understand how can mitzvah Talmud Torah be so minimal. And this is a very big chiddush of his to explain that what's written clearly in the Torah has a different level of commitment because it is Mishpah V'Omed Mehar Sinai. That's what God was actually being mashbing us on Har Sinai. So I hope you enjoyed our first Gefet using the Ran and the Mefarish, and Bezrat Hashem will meet with much more of the Ran in this beautiful Masechta, Masechet Nedarim. Take care and enjoy your new Masechta.